Hello!
Oh, hello. It's James here,
I'm Sarah.
and that was a very energetic Bear Talks
Yeah,
intro.
because I wanted to say it first. You want to say hello first.
I
Thought
don't
I'd get
always
in there
do that.
quickly.
Yesterday, we saw the film Ant-Man. Some of you might have seen adverts for it. Some of you might literally just be hearing about it now.
Or people may have seen it.
Or some of you might have seen it. In
Quite
fact,
a
this
lot of
is...
people have.
If you haven't seen it, and you're interested in seeing it, stop listening to this, because we are going to be talking about spoilers.
Spoiler alert!
Big
Spoiler
spoilers.
alert!
So pause it at this mark, come back to it after you've seen it, then resume listening. Sarah, what did you think of Ant-Man?
Honestly,
Yeah, honestly.
it was okay.
Okay, so Sarah thinks it was okay. Care to elaborate?
It was a watchable 2.5 hour long film.
It was less than 2 hours, I
Okay.
think, wasn't it?
I thought it was more.
I thought it was less.
Anyway, it felt like it went rather quickly.
Probably because it was less than 2 hours.
It was fun. Made me laugh out loud a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah, didn't you hear me?
No.
I was laughing at the same point as all the lads behind us were laughing, so it probably just mingled in.
Oh, was that when he broke up their moment? In the film?
That and the Thomas the Tank Engine bit.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, what we'll try and do, we'll try and go through our, highs and lows throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a really good Phase 1 film. I know it wasn't Phase 1, it's the tail end of Phase 2, but if this was released around the same time as Iron Man, the first Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, it would have been really good for that stretch.
I don't think so. I think all of those films outdo this, definitely.
You think the first Captain America film outdoes this
I do.
film?
And that's saying something.
That is saying something, because that was long. That felt like over 2 hours, and that had a lot of
that film.
build up. Okay, so it starts off. It starts off with a bit of, flashback stuff. Tries to build things up. I mean, ultimately, I think that's why I didn't enjoy this as much as, say, Winter Soldier or Iron Man 3, because this film has a lot of build up. And, I mean, even Guardians of the Galaxy, which takes place, it's so far removed from everything else that's happening in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
It's got all these new alien characters.
But you just get straight into it.
It just goes for it.
And you don't feel like you need any explanation because I'm not a toddler.
Exactly. It's just like, okay, here's a raccoon, here's a giant walking tree, they're kind of badasses, and they're looking for shit to do. That's all it needed.
Yeah.
It just did that and got right into it. And kudos to the writer and director, I think James Gunn, for really not spending half an hour dwelling on each character. Yeah. He had a lot of it was an ensemble piece. He spent a bit of time on, Peter Quill, but then in the opening credits, it pretty much gave you everything you need to know about him. In Ant-Man, Scott Lang, or Paul Rudd. I mean, it is Paul Rudd, isn't it? You know Paul Rudd, the main actor. Have you seen many Paul Rudd films?
No, I don't
Basically,
think I have.
every Paul Rudd film, his character is a guy who's kind of down on his luck with women.
Like, what films are there? Because,
have you seen the film Role Models?
No.
Have you seen the film 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yes.
He was in 40-Year-Old Virgin, and he was kind of going through a bit of a relationship problem in that.
Okay.
And Role Models, he's going through a kind of rut, and he's also going through a bit of a relationship problem.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much Paul Rudd, he's kind of like a character who's street smart and, has a few funny quips every now and then. He's kind of almost self-loathing in a way, and he just goes through relationship troubles. That is Paul Rudd in every film, including Ant-Man. He has relationship troubles with his wife, and his daughter loves him, and he loves his daughter, so, straight away, they've got an angle for the character.
I just say I thought the little girl was really good.
She was actually.
I thought she was really good for her age, and I liked her. She was actually one of my favourite characters in the whole film.
Well, that's probably because you empathise with her the most. She was on a mental level. You like it when you get a kooky-looking bunny rabbit as well.
Well,
You're like, I like it. Yeah. Usually in these sort of films, whenever there's a kid and they play an important part in the plot, I fucking hate them. Whenever there's a child, especially a little girl in sci-fi. Little girls in sci-fi suck.
This isn't... No, stop.
No, because it's always overused, it's always overdone. Like, Ever since the
There's only two genders, and everybody is a child at some point.
But ever since the fucking Exorcist, little girls have been used in sci-fi and horror to sort of promote innocence and like, oh, what's this? Someone who's supposed like the most innocent thing ever is affected by some evil force and has some kind of communication with it. And they always say shit like, oh, it's coming and they're here.
What has this got to do with the little girl and Ant-Man?
Because usually when kids are in those kind of films, I hate them and I really don't want them to survive or like win.
Wow.
But in this film, like I kind of didn't despise her, as you said, she was good in it. And that's nothing against the actors. Like sometimes the actors are bad, but it's mostly the characters' fault and the lazy writing. So anyway, Scott Lang, he gets roped into this heist. The supporting characters are pretty good. His friends.
Yeah, his friends were good. They made me laugh.
Yeah, they weren't like Michael Bay stereotypes. They weren't running
But I feel
around.
like they were Mexican stereotypes.
Well, not really. I mean, think of... I'm not going to say any of them, but think of Mexican stereotypes.
Right.
And think about how many they use in this film. Don't just count saying things like, hey man, what's up? Because that's just general language, just like American. But like, they weren't wearing silly costumes. They weren't eating like strictly Mexican food.
Okay.
No, they were all good, and they had, like you said, funny moments.
Yes.
The actual story of the film, did you like it? I mean, you don't really know anything about Ant-Man, do you? Neither do I.
No, it's like... It was okay. It was like... I enjoyed it while it was on, but I wouldn't rush out and sort of buy it on DVD and watch it again.
I'd watch it on Netflix years from now.
Exactly. If it was
watch
free
it again.
and it was just there and there was nothing else on, I'd probably watch it. But I just wasn't that taken with it at all.
Did you like the quirky moments in it?
Such as?
Like Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah, I liked the Thomas the Tank Engine and the giant ant.
Yeah, it definitely isn't bland. It definitely doesn't feel like any normal Marvel film. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'm finding it hard to. I'm trying to think in my head while you're talking of like positives, and I'm trying to be really positive about it, but
because
I'm having difficulty. Like, I don't know.
It's reached a point now where there are so many superhero films out there. You look at all the trailers for superhero films, and they all look pretty much identical. They're all dark, brooding.
I think that's
and there's someone narrating over the top, and they all have the same beats in it. Like, look at the new Fantastic Four trailer. It is just sound bites. It's just taking random clips out of context and saying, "Oh, this sounds quite edgy and interesting. Let's put that in there." And I'm sure the new Fantastic Four film will be better than the other one with fucking Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, who's now Captain America. But at the same time, it just looks like generic for a superhero film. It just looks ordinary. Whereas Ant-Man, the shrinking scenes done really well.
Yeah.
As I said, there are a lot of great scenes that you're not used to seeing in film. If you actually like observe what's happening, it's not just the same general beats. You know, he's not fighting a giant robot. There's not some kind of all-powerful god figure in it that he's trying to kill. Yeah, the villain is pretty generic. I mean, he's just the villain, Yellow Jacket. He was just fucking like a pantomime villain, wasn't he?
Yeah, he wasn't on it for very long either.
He was just, I mean, the guy playing him, great acting for his part, but the character was just so fucking one-dimensional. So, I've talked about a lot of good things. You said I've mentioned a lot of good things, and now I'm starting to mention bad things.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, for the most part, the film hits the right notes. The characters make logical decisions. You know, they aren't just saying and doing things to progress the plot. It kind of feels natural. Like, you can understand.
What didn't feel natural to me, sorry, I'm just
go for it.
In there, was the main character and daughter in distress kissing at the end. I felt like it added nothing. There was no build up to that. There was no sort of connection between them throughout the film at all. I know she like hated him at first. It was like a high school relationship, wasn't it? I hate you so much.
Okay, yeah.
Because she wants to go out with him. It was like there was nothing going on there.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, there's the obligatory guy gets the girl kiss.
It was weird. I just didn't understand why it was there.
Because every film has to have it, Sarah.
Oh, sorry.
You need
Okay.
for the girlfriends who are dragged along to see these
I'm
films
not a
and don't.
girlfriend that's been dragged along, and I didn't appreciate that.
Well, then you should write to Marvel and say
I'm sure they'll take note of
we're
that,
not
yeah.
just walking vaginas. We like good
I
character
just
progression.
didn't get it. It was weird.
I would say another sort of weird, kind of forced, not heartstring tugging, but kind of weird emotional moment. You might remember Scott Lang. He's sort of as he's controlling the ants, and Michael Douglas is like, "Yeah, I give them numbers. You have no idea how many ants there are." And then for some reason he's like, "I'm gonna call this one Anthony, and he's gonna be my bestest friend." And then when he's going after the villain, the guy he's firing his gun and he kills Anthony.
Out
He's
of all
like,
the ants.
Anthony, no!
Yeah.
And then his fucking wing falls to the ground in slow motion,
like a feather.
as if we're supposed to go, no, not Anthony. It's like there are fucking thousands of ants, and this wasn't even a special ant. Like literally, he just turned up and Paul Rudd rode him. That was it.
He was a helicopter.
Yeah, he was a helicopter. He didn't have any cool characteristics. He wasn't funny. He wasn't like. There's one bit when Paul Rudd jumps down, and I think it's like Crazy Ant or something. He jumps on him and starts cuddling him like a dog.
Yeah.
There was none of that. He didn't have any quirky personality. He was like, he
was just an ant.
He was just a general ant. He was a tool, really.
Yeah.
He was a tool for Scott Lang to use to get from one place to another.
Yeah.
And then when he got shot, yeah, I know he named him, so it's kind of like
it's not like
he exists
Hedwig
then.
dying, though, is it?
Exactly, no, it's not like that. It's not like in Pixar when they're like in Up with the bird thing. I can't remember what its name is, but that weird bird thing, or one of the dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
They actually have a personality, and you care about them. You're invested in them. But this was just like, oh, the ants died. Oh well. And I mean, they could have just easily had him going, not Anthony, or like him getting killed, and then turn around saying, right, you're going to regret this. Boom. That's all it's needed. It was just the floating.
Did they really need to kill Anthony in the first place?
I suppose
Did it add anything?
It kind of spurred Scott Lang on, because he actually did say like, oh, I'm pissed now. I'm gonna like really get you now, as if like shooting Michael Douglas wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't care that you shot my mentor. You killed my ant buddy. But yeah, like I said, it was just that floating wing to the floor. That to me was just like, nah, piss off.
Yeah.
Come on. That was probably that and the villain were probably the worst points for me.
Yeah.
Everything else, the ending, like the climactic final fight on the Thompson Tank Engine set, they managed to combine an action train chase sort of thing with a ridiculous setup inside her bedroom. That was done really well. The other thing that I liked quite a bit, superhero films now, especially one sort of shot ones like these, very predictable. You know the good guy's going to win. You know he's going to learn a lesson. You know something that's mentioned around the second act, halfway through the second act, is going to come into play later on. You know, you can plot it out pretty easily. And as I said, you know that if there's a man and there's a woman and they're both pretty much leading the story, they're going to end up romantically linked at some point. It's just going to happen, because that's what
Who is she
films do.
Who is she going to play?
Okay, she is going to become, well, based on what the film was hard to tell, she's going to become the character Wasp, the new Wasp.
And do Ant-Man and Wasp get it on in the comics, do you know?
I actually don't. I do know that Wasp was one of the original Avengers. So, I mean, she was, like, quite important in the Marvel Universe. She didn't look, I mean, the Wasp costumes sort of look like the new one. They tweaked it a little bit so it looked less like Ant-Man, more like the Wasp. But, yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I thought it looked like a dragonfly.
A little bit, but I don't think it's been finished. I think
they said we need to keep working on it.
But as I was saying, a lot of films are sort of predictable in aspect. This film surprised me in little things not quite being as predictable as I planned. Like, as soon as... I'll try and give an example. I mentioned Michael Douglas getting shot. Before that happened, when he was sort of teaching Paul Rudd, and when they were sort of like talking about how it's an important mission and he trusts Paul Rudd, straight away I thought, oh, he's going to get killed. Michael Douglas is going to get killed, the bad guy's going to kill him, and this is going to motivate Paul Rudd to really get back at him. But no, that was switched around. Michael Douglas gets shot, and Anthony the Ant got killed instead. That was
Yeah.
his motivation, the fucking ant. I also thought there was that bit when Paul Rudd's just messing around with the machine, and he's like, "Oh, whatever you do, don't mess with the regulator. If you do that, shit will go down. Like, don't cross the streams." It was that, basically, the don't cross the streams talk in the middle. And later on, obviously, he had to cross the streams. He had to use a regulator. Now, admittedly, when he first mentioned that, I thought, oh, that's how the bad guy's going to die. That straight away set up. That is how the Yellow Jacket's going to bite it. He's going to fuck with the regulator, and the guy's going to shrink and keep shrinking and get fucked. That sort of happened. I didn't expect Scott Lang to use it on himself. I didn't expect him to go super quantum.
I liked that bit.
That was pretty trippy and cool.
It was like looking through a kaleidoscope.
I know, yeah, and also it had a good resolution as well.
Yeah, it was
Like
good.
when he was shrinking and when he could sort of hear his daughter. That's when I thought, oh fuck, he's not gonna bring him. It's not gonna be like Doctor Who. I'm gonna save myself with the power of fatherly love.
Yeah, no, I thought that.
fucking hate that in sci-fi.
I thought her voice was going to bring him back.
And
like
he was
some sort
gonna-
of ghost.
Like the power of love trumps science.
Yeah.
But no, it actually had a decent sort of resolution. It actually kind of worked in the context of the story.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you've seen it, but we weren't meant to mention it. So no, that was good. But yeah, I thought it was a good film. I would definitely recommend it if you like superhero films. I definitely recommend it if you like heist movies as well.
Yeah.
It is a giant heist movie. But yeah, Sarah, would you recommend Ant-Man?
If you can get a copy of it or watch it on DVD when it comes out, I'm not going to say go and watch it for £9 at the cinema.
So there's an old reviewing thing where they have like buy, rent, or miss, and yours is a rent.
Rent. Yeah.
Mine is a buy. I think.
Really?
I think for a single cinema ticket, I mean, what's that going to be like? £8? It's
Yeah.
worth that. It's worth the £8. It's worth seeing it in a big screen when he shrinks. I'm sure that's a hell of a lot better than when you watch it on the TV. And you know, it's a good story, good film. Yeah, I'd recommend it.
7 out of 10.
You 7 out of 10.
7 out of
7
10.
out of 10. Yeah, I would probably give. Yeah, I think on my personal scale, I think 7 out of 10 is quite good as well. 6 or 7. Probably 7.
So you're giving it a 7 out of 10 as well?
I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, but
Even though it's
my
okay.
7 out of 10, not
Oh,
your 7
right.
out of 10.
Ooh, okay.
Well, you give everything 7 out of 10.
When I'm not that impressed. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it was okay.
The numbers 0
Let's
to
keep
6 don't
saying.
exist.
I keep saying it was alright.
Okay, alright
But it
then.
just wasn't. It didn't blow me away.
Okay. So that was our talk about Ant-Man. If you agreed with points, let us know in the comments. If you disagreed, if you have your own views, again, let us know. If there's anything else you want us to see and review in this sort of talk, do tell us. We've got a couple of ideas.
Yes, we have.
We're not going to share them just yet, but we do have a couple of ideas, and we hope you'll like at least one of them that we think will be pretty funny.
Yeah.
But that's it for Bear Talks.
Yes, it is.
I've been James,
And I've been Sarah.
and we've been the Bears.
I give us a 7 out of 10.
Really?
No.
That's not good.
I'm lying.
That's not good.
No, I give us an 11 out of 10.
That's more like it. Smile and wave for the cameras, honey.
There's no cameras on, sweetheart.
Okay. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.